This webinar is the first in a series of 4 about PubMed. It is designed to give you a tour and introduction to PubMed features. PubMed is a free online tool provided by the National Library of Medicine, also known as NLM. NLM is one of the National Institutes of Health, and it is funded by U.S. tax dollars. PubMed is one of the largest and most comprehensive databases of biomedical journal literature in the world. And today we'll see and take a look under the hood at how it works. Let's go ahead and look at our agenda. We'll start with an introduction to the PubMed database, what it is and what is in it. Then we'll explore PubMed features together and discover how to accomplish some of the most common PubMed tasks. I welcome you to follow along in the browser, or you can just sit back and watch. Finally, I'll show you how to get help in case you get stuck and some additional training resources. Also, at the end of today's session, you'll get a link to the evaluation, which has information about claiming continuing education credit from the Medical Library Association. So let's talk about PubMed. PubMed is the National Library of Medicine's free authoritative database of more than 34 million citations for articles in the fields of biomedicine and health, with a specific focus on collecting original scientific research. It's used by over 3 million unique users each day, including clinicians, researchers, students, librarians, and more. So what are some of the ways that you can use PubMed? You can use it to find a specific research article based on some known information that you already have. You can use it to find articles written by a particular author. You can use PubMed to familiarize yourself with a topic, and because of its vast scope, you can also take a deep dive into a wide variety of topics. PubMed even has patient education handouts, and I'll show you how to add that filter later today. So you may ask, does PubMed have full-text articles? What can you expect? PubMed is a database of citations, not a database of full-text articles. Nearly 75% of PubMed citations include links to full text, and if you look at articles published in the last 10 years, almost 95% provide full-text links. But there's a difference between full-text and free full-text. Some of the links may take you to a publisher's site, which may require a subscription or a one-time fee. When a publisher provides free full-text access, that link will be included in PubMed. And when available, PubMed includes links to full text from PubMed Central, also known as PMC. PMC is NLM's free full-text repository. It was created in response to the National Institutes of Health public access policy that was adopted by the United States Congress in 2009. The public access policy says that any publications that come out of research supported by an NIH grant must be made available to the public for free. PMC, also PubMed Central, recently launched a new website design with a similar look and feel to PubMed. So if someone asked you if PubMed was a database of free full text, what would you say? Yes or no? Let me know in chat. If someone asked you if PubMed was a free full text database of articles. All right, I'm seeing lots of no's in here. Excellent. The answer that we teach in this class is no. PubMed is a database of citations to articles. Full text in PubMed is not always available or free. And if you'd like more information on that, we're sharing a link to a fact sheet in the chat box that talks about the relationship between PubMed and PubMed Central. And this is also on your handout. And I see some great responses in there. Now let's talk about how to use PubMed and some of the built-in features. One of the most common ways PubMed is used is to locate a specific article based on some known information you already have. Say you come across a news story like the one on this slide. This is a 2019 story from National Public Radio reporting on research that shows that the common treatment for asthma may not be as effective as previously believed. The online version of this article had a convenient link back to the original research, but that's not always the case. You might see an article listed in the reference section of a paper or hear about research on the news or social media. So let's see if we can track this article down. What do we know about this article? I've highlighted a couple of clues on the slide. We know that it was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. We know that it's an article from 2019, so probably the article was published in 2019. And we know that the lead author is Stephen Lazarus, a pulmonologist at the University of California, San Francisco. And honestly, just this little bit of information should be enough for us to find the article very easily in PubMed. So let's go into PubMed and see what we find. I'm going to go into pubmed.gov now. If you can, open another browser window and work along with me. We've shared the link to PubMed in chat. Or if you can't, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So one of the key design features of PubMed are the sensors that are built into the search box. That's sensors with an S. PubMed search sensors analyze your search terms and try to detect exactly what you're looking for. If we enter the information we have, the author's name, last name, the abbreviation for the journal, and the year, PubMed's citation sensor should detect that we entered some basic citation information and will help us find the article that we're looking for. So if you're following along, go ahead and type Lazarus NEJM 2019 into the PubMed search box and click search. This is search example A on your handout, and Rebecca's also shared that search phrase in the chat box if you want to grab it. So now we're looking at the search results page, which PubMed calls the summary view. Notice towards the top, we have a message highlighted in yellow, 3 articles found by citation matching. PubMed's citation sensor uses a fuzzy matching algorithm to find citations that might be a match for the article we're looking for. In this case, PubMed thinks that one of these top 3 articles might be a match. And we see that the third article has all 3 pieces of information that we put into the chat box. The author's name, the journal, and it's from 2019. PubMed also runs our search normally and gives us an alternative set, which you can see below, in case we're trying to find something else. We'll look at the rest of what's going on the results page in a bit, but for now, I'm going to click on this third article found by citation matching to see it in more detail. So now we're in what PubMed calls the abstract view for our article. We have some basic citation information on top. When you hover your mouse over the journal title abbreviation, the full title displays. We also see the date, the volume, the issue number, and the page ranges. And then to the left of the journal citation info, we have a tag that indicates the type of article that this is. In this case, the article reports on the results of a randomized controlled trial. Not every article is going to have a tag like this, but PubMed highlights commonly looked for publication types, such as randomized controlled trials, clinical trials, reviews, and case reports. So below that chunk of citation information, we have in a larger font the actual title of the article. And then to the right, you're going to find the links to the full text of the article. And just a note, if you use a smaller screen, like if you're on a phone, these full text links will actually appear below the title. But since we're looking at the abstract in a large screen, it's going to go to the right. I want to point out that this citation has a link to the publisher's website, and it also has a link to a free copy of the article in PubMed Central. And you may see a link to a library icon if you are, for example, in a library and your library participates in Link Out for Libraries. You would see another icon here for that below. So now that we've unpacked the full text, let's head back over to this main part of the abstract. I wanted to point out the author information. There's a lot of authors on this article. And indeed, sometimes this list can be very long with hundreds of authors and collaborators. Now you can view author information and institutional affiliations by clicking this plus sign next to expand. And if you did that, you will see even more information. We'll just go ahead and collapse those affiliations for now. Finally, below that list of authors, we have something called a PMID. The PMID is also called the PubMed identifier. This is a unique number, and every citation in PubMed has one. And that's also answer to number 1 on your handout. What is the unique number for a PubMed citation called? And the answer is the PubMed identifier, or PMID. If you have the PMID, you can always find the citation by typing the number into the search box and clicking search. And one thing to note, if you do this, don't include PMID in front of it because PubMed doesn't understand that. But if you enter in the sequence of numbers that is the PMID, it will find it. So remember, only enter the number found to the right of the colon if you want to look up an article in PubMed by the PubMed identifier. Another cool trick, you can also search multiple PMIDs at the same time, and you just have to separate them with a space. So let me show you an example of this. I'm going to take our first article on mometasone and a couple more PMIDs that I know of, and I'm just going to search those 3 PMIDs in the search box, just that string of numbers, and you'll notice now that I get 3 results back. So here's the first article, the mometasone, and then here's 2 more articles that were pulled up by their PMID numbers. So just a useful trick if you tend to use PubMed a lot. Okay, I'm going to go back to my abstract view. We talked about the PMID a little bit, and directly below the PMID, we have the abstract, which tells you what the article is about. Most articles have an abstract, and this is provided by the publisher. PubMed displays what the publisher provides. If the publisher does not provide an abstract, PubMed does not create one. So just know that if you encounter a record that does not have an abstract, that is because the publisher did not submit one for that article. Okay, and then to the right of the abstract, you'll notice something called page navigation. And this section is an easy way to navigate to different sections of this page without scrolling. And just to show you, let me show you similar articles because that's another popular PubMed feature. So if I click on similar articles, it's going to take me down the page and show me similar articles to this mometasone article. Similar articles is a list generated by an algorithm. It's based on, the algorithm is built based on terms from the abstract, title, and medical subject headings for this article. Similar articles is designed to bring in other PubMed citations that are similar to the one you're looking at. By default, you'll get to see 5 articles, but you can click on See All Similar Articles if you wanted to see more. And we have a link on the handout that discusses how PubMed identifies similar articles if you're curious to know more about that. And there's also, you may also see a list of articles that cite the article you're looking at. Cited by is generated using data submitted from publishers and also from NCBI resources. Just note that the cited by section may not be a complete list of works citing a particular item. It's cited by other works that are indexed within PubMed. So it is not a comprehensive global view of everything that has cited this article. It's there may be gaps. I'm going to just pop back up to the top of our abstract example. I'd like to know, what other interesting things do you see here in the abstract view? Let me know in the chat box. We have a lot of different sections on this page to explore. And see, Elizabeth likes the mesh terms. Yep. Associated data is interesting, says Emily. I agree. Go ahead and pop over to those couple. Related information, citation. Okay, yes, the citation up here is good. Figures, yes, great. We're going to explore a couple of these today. I do want to pop down and show you associated data. This is relatively new, and not all PubMed records will have that, but notice in this associated data, it links to clinicaltrials.gov, and you can actually click onto the record, the clinical trial from which this research was produced. So that's kind of cool. You can also look at grant support that contributed to the publishing of this article. I also kind of like related information. I know somebody said they thought it was cool. In this case, this article on memetazone will link out to another NCBI database resource called PubChem. And it's really interesting, especially from a chemist point of view. You can actually get in and look at chemical structures. And this is generated chemical structures that are related. And we have a really great new on-demand course from the National Library of Medicine on PubChem, and we'll look around for that and maybe share that out if you're interested in exploring that database. It's a really, really cool tool. But today we're talking about PubMed, and thank you for sharing other things that are interesting to you on this abstract view. I'm going to pause a moment for questions because I see some activity in the chat. Erica, anything?
Yeah, Molly, we have a question on using wildcard in PMID. Is that possible?
That is an excellent question. I don't know yes or no off the top of my head, but we can certainly find out. Rebecca, do you have any?
Yeah. So I just tried it because I've never done it before, and it did work. It brought in, I used this Lazarus article, PMID, but I'm not 100% sure why you would do it because I don't think similar PMIDs necessarily have anything to do with each other, right? An
Yeah.
article on rheumatology with one PMID that's similar to another PMID may not be about rheumatology, but the answer is yes, you can use the wild card, which is an asterisk.
I actually can think of a use case for that. Say you're a busy resident and you scribble a PMID on your hand, and then you go back to the clinic and you wash your hand and you only have 6 numbers of that one article you needed for grand rounds. Maybe it would come in handy in something like that.
All right, and then we also had a question about how many PMIDs can be entered and searched at one time.
Oh, I'm going to have to see if Rebecca knows the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't. I'll look it up. I know you can put in a lot and just separate them by space. But I'll see if I can find an answer.
Let's see, we also had a question when you were looking at the other information that was found in the citation. There's the area under the mesh headings that says substances, And Rebecca wondered if that refers to drugs or chemicals being studied. Which drugs or chemicals are being studied?
Yeah, substances, and actually, I think I think it's in our how PubMed works mesh class goes into a little more detail about substances, um, and so these are so it's I believe that it is substances that have been indexed for the article, and so this will you can then execute a search in PubMed for that. You can look at the medical subject heading for that. Um, so you can
That's
basically,
correct, Molly.
yeah. So
And then just following up on that, are those subject headings in mesh?
yes,
Yes.
yes. And how PubMed works, Mesh, I think is in 3 weeks. If you are interested in learning more, we have 90 minutes on medical subject headings and all of their fascinating facets.
Molly, we just had one other question. And this was a comment about running into problems where author replies will show up in the similar articles. And Anita felt they used to be easier to track from comments and wondered if the algorithm has changed.
As far as I know, I, I don't have an answer to that. I don't know if the algorithm has changed. I don't think it has, but we can look into that.
I would
Great.
also suggest that you could write to the help desk
Oh,
and
yeah.
ask that question.
Great. That's what we have for right now.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, great, Anita. Yes. And well, I think it's on the bottom of every page. Yes, help. If you click on help, and we'll revisit this later today, but if you click on the footer of any PubMed page, there's help, and that should take you to a help desk screen. So you can, and especially if you have screen captures, Anita, you can include an image in your submission, and you'll get a confirmation email reply. All right. Well, thank you for your questions. Let me go back up to the top of the screen. I'm going to click on the PubMed logo on the top left to go back to the PubMed homepage. And that's always a way back. You'll on almost every single PubMed page on the left side, you will have a logo, pubmed.gov. You can always click that and get back to a clean, fresh page. And we'll return to explore some of the other features in Abstract very soon. But right now, I want to talk about author searching in PubMed, because one of the most frequent tasks users do in PubMed is try to find all publications by a specific author. And searching for an author can be tricky in PubMed. Multiple authors might have the same name, like there's over 1,300 Napps in PubMed, or one author might publish under different names. There's at least one Napp that does that. But there's a few techniques that you can use to help find articles by the author that you want. The most effective and simple way is to search using the author's last name and initials. You can use up to 2 initials in PubMed, but using just the first initial will run the most comprehensive search. And there's no need to tag, capitalize, or punctuate. You just enter the last name, then a space, and then the initials. So let's using the example from our article earlier. I'm going to enter in, I'm going to try to look for articles by Stephen Lazarus, and he's a pulmonologist at University of California. And if I wanted to find everything by this Dr. Lazarus, I can enter his last name and then a space and then his first initial. And one final thing before I click search, we recommend using just the last name space first initial instead of the author's full name, even if you know it, because not every PubMed record is going to include full author names. PubMed really only began accepting full names in 2002, and not all publishers supply the full name even today. So searching a full name may not get you all of the search results. You might miss a few. We go into a lot more detail about author searching in the automatic term mapping session of this class. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I believe that's next week. But for now, if you're following along, just go ahead and type Lazarus S into the search box and click search. And that is example B on your handout. Okay. As you can see in the results, we have a number of articles by an S.C. Lazarus, and it shows that name bolded in the search results. Now, remember, he's a pulmonologist from the University of California, and we see some titles that reflect that. And that's one clue that we can use to determine whether we have the right author. So let's click on the first search result and see if this is one of Dr. Lazarus' publications. So I'm clicking on the search result, and now I'm back into that abstract page. Now, where can I look on the abstract to find out this author's affiliation? If you know, tell me in chat. Where can I find an author's affiliations? Emily's got it. Expand the affiliations with the plus sign. Yes, great. Great job, everybody. I will do just that. I am expanding the affiliations. And here I can see Dr. Lazarus from the University of California is right here. So yes, this is also an article from our author. Another cool trick, I'm going to collapse the affiliations for now. You can also hover your mouse over the number next to an author, and it will tell you the affiliation that way as well. So that's another little PubMed hack there. Now from here, if I wanted to find more articles by this author, I can do it quite easily using a feature that we call computed author sort. Now, it has a really long name, but it's so easy to use. While you're in the abstract view, you just click the author's name, in this case, Stephen C. Lazarus, and watch how PubMed works. So I clicked on the author's name, and now I receive back 175 results, and I get the message that results are displayed in a computed author sort order. And this article that we clicked on is the first one in the list. So what exactly is this computed author sort? Because an author might have the same name as other authors, the objective of this PubMed feature is to display additional relevant results by an author. So when you click an author's name from within a citation, the author name disambiguation process kicks in and compares citations that have the same author name, and it also looks at the similarity of co-authors, journal titles, article titles, affiliations, mesh terms, abstract words, publication date. It takes all of this information and then uses that to display the articles that are most likely to be by your author at the top of this list. So the bottom line is that to use the computed author sort feature is just pull up any PubMed citation in the abstract view that you believe is by your author, click on the author's name, and notice here, very interesting, different. Click on the author, and PubMed will then run the specialized algorithm and cluster the results for your author on the top. Rebecca shared a link to the algorithm behind computed author sort in the chat box if you're interested in learning more. And let's just try one other name to see how it works. And as you can see, I clicked on Bernstein and received 43 results. and that is using the computed author sort order. So results on the top are more likely to be by your author, and as you go down the list, less likely. And this is all generated by the computed author sort algorithm. So if you're following along on the handout, question number 2 asks, which PubMed view do you need to be to get that computed author sort message to appear? Jeanette's got it first, abstract. That's right. You can pull up any PubMed citation in abstract view, click on an author's name, and you can generate a list of articles most likely to be by your author. Pretty cool. Is there anything I need to address in the chat box?
We do have 2 quick questions. One question is about the sort order. Is that another algorithm used by PubMed? And I think the person means the author, computer
Yeah,
author sort order.
yes, that is another algorithm used by PubMed to generate the search results. So, and there's okay, good.
And yeah, then you see the other question that is there about, is there any difference using author like Lazarus S author? So the author tag.
If you use an author tag, it's going to turn off automatic term mapping, so you may miss some results just by nature of just searching that author tag. So the use case in that might be something published really recently that has not yet been indexed. So for author searching, the simplest way to begin is what we recommend is the last name space first initial, and then there's other ways to get at author information, like using search tags too.
And then we just had one last question that came in, Molly, and that is, how likely is it that a computed author sort will return all articles by that author in PubMed?
Well, Jason, I don't have a percentage for you, unfortunately, and I don't know off the top of my head the likelihood, but I do know that computed author sort is used by an algorithm, is generated by an algorithm, and I would think that that would be a very interesting research project, but I don't know. We can find out.
Can I add 2 cents on there?
You may.
Yeah, author searching is imperfect, and so so are algorithms. So I would say it'd be hard to guarantee that, you know, the sorted computed author sort brought in everything.
Agree. I agree. And I guess that's what's keeping librarians employed, right? um, Rachel, I see she's asking too, is it comparable to Web of Science or other databases that explore citation relationships, publishing relationships? PubMed is a database of biomedical research citations and in no way is comparable to other resources that really take a global look at bibliometrics. I would say that PubMed would be a great companion to something like Web of Science or Scopus. And Marion, if you have a little more detail about what you mean by play, I welcome you to kind of extend that question in chat. And Rebecca is also going to talk about ORCID during the automatic term mapping session. So at this point, I think, does PubMed add ORCID? Yes, some PubMed citations do have ORC-IDs, and we go into detail about that at ATM, so in the automatic term mapping session. So for now, for the interest of time, I'm going to keep your questions coming. We'll have another stopping point for questions in about 15 minutes. But I would like to move on and shift gears and talk a little bit about keyword searching, which is another common use case for PubMed. So keyword searching, maybe it's a topic you don't know a lot about and you want to familiarize yourself with it, or maybe you're doing a deep dive into a particular subject. And either way, we have a few features that make it easy for you to type in what you're looking for into the search box and retrieve relevant results. And one of the features that makes it so easy is called the best match sort order. And it's the default sort that's used in PubMed. So when you do a keyword search in PubMed, your results are going to be, will be given to you by default in best match. Because based on our analytics and usage statistics for PubMed, the overwhelming majority of users only look at the first few results of their search, and they rarely, if ever, go past the first page. So one of the main goals of PubMed development is to make sure that the best and most relevant and current research shows up right at the top on that first page. And that's where the best match sort order comes in. And once again, it's a machine learning algorithm that is placing the most relevant citations based on your search terms at the top of your results. We feel it's so important that this is the answer to number 3 in your handout. Best match is a machine learning algorithm that matches your search terms to the PubMed records in your results based on the article title and some other things, and then displays them by rank with the most relevant results appearing atop. Now I want to show you an example of this in action because that was a lot of words and not a lot of action. So I'm going to do an example search for 3 keywords: caregiver burden and Alzheimer's. All right, so I'm going to do a keyword search for these 3 terms, and I'm going to click search. All right, so notice, here's my search results. Notice directly below this search box, we have the message sorted by best match, right? And then we have 1,508 results. Now I'm going to click on this cog to the right of this sorted by message, the display options. I'm going to change my display options from best match to most recent, okay? Now pay attention, we have 1,500 results. The author of the first article is by Atri A. I'm going to change to the most recent display options. I still have 1,500 results, but now the results have completely changed, and now I have Park as the author of the first article, right? I'm showing all of this so that you can see how best match, it's an algorithm that just sorts your results. It doesn't search for results. It's just it is a sort, it's a display order sort. So you can always change your search results. It defaults to best match, but you can change that to a number of other ways. You can look at it, as we saw, by most recent. You can do it by publication date or author or even journal. So just know that your keyword search results are going to, by default, display in this best match algorithmically generated best results on the top. And you have the opportunity to change those display options to do it by a different order if you so need. Okay. And Rebecca shared a link to more information about the algorithm behind best match. And the bottom line here is, regardless of what sort order you apply using these display options, it's always going to be the same list of results from your search, just displayed in a different way. Okay, so we looked at the best match feature for sorting your results of your keyword searches. And I wanted to take a minute to also talk about automatic term mapping. So in the development of PubMed, we've tried to focus on taking simple keyword searches like caregiver burden, Alzheimer's, and translating them into more elaborate, comprehensive searches behind the scenes, if you will. And we call this automatic term mapping. We have an entire class developed to automatic term mapping that's coming up in a few weeks. You can learn more about it then. Any questions before I move on?
Molly, we just had one that was about using Boolean operators when doing keyword searching.
We
Would you,
recommend,
go ahead, sorry.
okay. So Boolean operators do work in PubMed, and you can use them, and we'll see how they're incorporated into the advanced search in just a few minutes here. And I'm going to get into this just in like a few seconds, but basically we really recommend your terms separated with a space with no Boolean operators as your first stab, if you will. If you are an end user of PubMed, you're not a super searcher, you can easily search keywords together without using Boolean operators, and it will AND them together in the way that the operator AND puts terms together. So let me go ahead and show you this like in action, and I'm going to move on to our third search example from the handout, a search for acid reflux. I'm going to use this example to show you some built-in tools that are designed so that you can do a broad search and then refine it using filters. So the example we're going to use is acid reflux, and then notice no tags, no Boolean operators, no quotation marks, nothing fancy. I don't even need to know the proper scientific name for acid reflux. Just put your keywords into the search box and click search. And this basic search gave us a bunch of results, almost over 40,000. In the center of the page, we have our list of results and that summary view. And that includes key information for each article, the title, the authors, the citation info. You might see some other information there too. The search terms that we put in are bolded in the title. And some terms that we didn't put in are also bolded, and I'll get to why that is in a minute. But before we go there, I just want to stop and talk about sharing results. All the ways that you can repurpose and share the results of your searches. And I'm just going to focus on this one right here. Notice right next to the article, you have two options. You have one that's cite and one that's share. So each result in the summary view has a cite button, and this lets you grab a properly formatted citation in several different formats. We're looking at NLM, but you can see we have a number of other ones available. You can copy and paste this into whatever you need to. You can download this and import it into a citation management software. And this citation downloads as a .nbib file. And if you were a user of legacy PubMed, that is the same format. And if you've used this feature in the past, it works the same now. So that is the cite feature. You also have a share button, and that provides a permanent link back to this citation. So you can use that to auto share on a social media account, or you can copy the permalink if you wanted to share that in an email or however. Okay, having a little bit of a bug right there. All right, so then at the top of the page, we have three more ways that you can repurpose citations. We have the save button. You can use this to save your citations to your computer. You can choose to all the results on the page. You can try to do all results, but note that sometimes this can result in very large files. You can do a selection, and then you can create the file, and it will download it to your computer. Email is another way to share results. I just want to say you can email your results to yourself or someone else, but note that this subject line is not customizable, and then you, as well as the from results, are always going to be from NLM. So you'll receive an email from NCBI with the search terms, and the subject is the search that you conducted in PubMed. Another way to share is the send to feature, and this allows you to send the citations to Clipboard, which is like a temporary way to save your citations on PubMed. You can save to My Bibliography or Collections, and these are features of NCBI, My NCBI account. And you can also send your citations to a citation manager. I also want to point out that you can change your display and your sort options here when you're saving, emailing, or sending things. So you can do more citations, you can include abstracts, include the abstract, and you can sort by different ways. Okay, now the final thing I want to point out is this feature to create alert. This is a way to set up a notification for a specific search. But to use this feature, you have to sign into My NCBI or create a free My NCBI account. The nice thing about creating an alert is that it saves the search to your My NCBI account. And when you save the search, you can set it up so that PubMed can automatically email new results as they become available on whatever schedule you choose. So like my friend Rebecca likes to say, you can do research while you sleep, setting up alerts. So let me show you how you can set up these alerts. Basically, I have to hop through and log into My NCBI. There's a number of different ways to set up a My NCBI account. Your institution might even have a login option. There's literally thousands of institutions to choose from. Since this is I use OrcID to use this, so let's go ahead and sign in and hope it works. Hooray! Okay, it worked. Perfect. So notice that I wanted to create an alert for acid reflux. I logged into My NCBI, and now I'm taken to a page to create an alert. It asked me what I want to call the search, what search terms I want to add, and you can test them. Do I want email updates? Yes. And then you can change all of those good things. I'm going to cancel this alert, but just know that if you have a My NCBI account and you log in, then you can save your searches simply by creating an alert. Okay, any questions before I move on?
We don't have any new questions right now. Oh, we just had one come in. Can you create an alert for the table of contents from a specific journal?
Well, John, yeah, you probably could fairly easily create an alert for a table of contents from a specific journal. Wearing my librarian hat, I would probably do something like look up the journal name in here, and then let's just choose science for fun, and then run the search, and then I could create the alert. And that would then give you new results from that. So that's one way that you could do that. Let's see, looks like we have another question. Yes, that is an excellent and detailed question, Iloho. And I think in the interest of time, if we have some time at the end, we can maybe take a look at that. That is definitely some heavy super searching happening with that. So thank you for your questions. If we have time, we'll try to explore that a little bit more. Thank you for your questions about creating an alert, and I hope that you discovered something new about ways to share and repurpose your results. And to pull it back into our handout, the question number 4 asks, what are the 5 ways to repurpose your results? And the answers Rebecca just shared in chat: 5 ways to share: cite, share, save, email, and create alert. Great. Okay. So I'm going to switch gears slightly because I want to talk about how to narrow search results to a more specific subset. And we have a nice big number here with our acid reflux search. But really, unless you're doing a very thorough literature review, you probably want a smaller group of results. And if you're kind of that use case general PubMed user, you just want, 10 articles that are the most relevant that you can read on one page. So one way to narrow your results is to use filters, which are located on the left side of the PubMed search pages. Now your filters probably look different than mine because I'm logged into my NCBI. And another cool feature of my NCBI is you can customize your filters. But I don't want to confuse you, so I'm going to log out of NCBI. And so we all are looking at the same thing, right? So here's my acid reflux search. On the left side, I have my filters here. So first we have the results by year filter. If you click on the arrows, you can expand the graph. And then you can use this button to filter your results if you like doing things like that. You can also, and then see automatically my results have been chunked down because I use that date filter. And I can reset those filters too just by doing the date filters by doing that. You can also download a CSV file of results by year, but please note this does not include the citations. It just tells you the count of citations by year for your search term. So it's not going to give you the 40,000 results. It's just going to give you like one publication in 1916. So, but that is useful if you're doing bibliometric research. So kind of a cool feature. So that's the results by year slider filter. Beneath that, we have text availability. You can restrict your search results to articles that just have free full text. It has full text, doesn't matter, or to only articles with an abstract. If you're interested in getting results with links to data, you can use the associated data filter. And you can also filter by various article types. We're looking at the default lists of filters right now. And some of these are study types like clinical trials and randomized controlled trials. So those are really useful if you are looking for specific types of research articles. If, for example, use case, you have a library patron that wants only clinical studies on a particular topic, you can quickly filter to just clinical trial or randomized controlled trial to pull out clinical information articles. Publication dates, another filter. Many folks like the 5-year range. You can also do a custom range. If you have specific dates in mind, you can set those right there. And then finally, at the bottom of the filters, there's even more filters, quite a few more actually. If you don't see what you want in this default screen right here, I would suggest looking at additional filters. So for example, say I wanted patient education articles on acid reflux in Spanish. The article type filter, you notice there was probably 5 or 6 on the main PubMed page, but in actuality, there's many more than that. And one of the article types that you can limit to is patient education handout. So I'm going to click on that because I want to see that filter. And then I also want the language of this article to be in Spanish, and that's another filter that's not shown on the front page, but is in the additional filters. And you can limit to quite a number of different languages. And I'm just getting down here to Spanish. And so I have chosen a Spanish language filter, and I have chosen a patient education filter. And now I'm going to click the blue button, Show. But my results have not yet been filtered because I still need to activate the filter that I chose. So now I'm going to activate my Spanish language filter for acid reflux, as well as my patient education filter. And now notice from our 40,000 results, limiting to Spanish language and patient education on our topic acid reflux, that we have 4 articles. Now, a couple more things about PubMed filters. They're very powerful and extremely useful to use. They are also sticky, meaning that the next search I do will continue to apply my filters unless I clear them. And we have a yellow message that will always appear when filters are turned on. It'll tell you what filters you've applied and give you the option to clear them. So I'm going to clear all of my filters. And then when if I do my next search, my results will not appear filtered like that. So one other note, down at the very bottom, you have a reset all filters. That will reset it in the same way that I just did using that yellow message. Now I'm going to pause a moment to see if there's questions about filters before I move on.
Molly, we do have one, and that is about the filter clinical trial, which is different from randomized control trial. Do some trials have both tags?
Thanks for your question, Lisa. I think that they're both medical subject headings, and I believe, and I know Rebecca will correct me if this is incorrect, but randomized controlled trial is nested below clinical trial in the medical subject headings. And so they are 2 separate medical subject headings, but they appear in a tree format, so that randomized controlled trial actually is a branch off of the clinical trial subject heading.
That's true, and I put that branch link in from Mesh in chat.
Wonderful. Okay. And if you attend the medical subject headings, how PubMed works in a few weeks, we go into more detail about how that works. So the other half of Lisa's question asked, do some trials have both tags? It depends, I think would be my answer to that. Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you for your questions. We're going to now move on and look a little bit at the advanced search builder and the PubMed history. And I want to show you that it's located on the advanced search page. And this kind of gets into the previous question too about building complex searches and things like that. The advanced search page is located underneath the search box on any PubMed page. So you click on advanced. The advanced search builder, which you'll see right here, allows you to build specific searches for specific fields, and you can build very much more complex searches in advanced search builder. So I'm going to use our example from our handout. You can use the advanced search builder to search for a specific journal, even if you don't know the journal's exact name. And the way that you go about doing that is you use the drop-down menu, and this is called the field selector drop-down menu. And what I'm looking for is I'm scrolling down and looking for the name of the journal. And so once I've chosen that, I can then start typing in the name of the journal that I'm looking for. An auto suggest feature will start suggesting names for you as you type. And you can choose the one you want. So using search example D, NEJM, if you're trying to find the New England Journal of Medicine, you can just choose journal from the field selection menu and start typing in New England. And it's going to auto-suggest that. Now I'm going to click on that. And from here, I could run my search. But I can also add this search to my search history. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my search to the query box. And then from here, I can either search PubMed or I can add it to my search history, which is what I'm going to do. This is another kind of super searcher trick. When you add your search to the search history, it just tells you the number of results and it links to the PubMed results, but you don't actually look at the full search results. So if you're building a real complex search and you don't need to look at every single article from the New England Journal of Medicine, you can use this add to search history option to just build it into your search, down here. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about the search history and search details section of the PubMed Advanced page. This section of the advanced search page helps keep track of the searches that you've run, and it lets you jump back to the results for any of your searches for up to 8 hours. So your search history on this page will be retained for up to 8 hours of inactivity. If you want to keep your history longer than that, we offer a download feature, which will download a CSV file of your history and your search results. So you would have a record of what terms that you searched. Search history is also useful because you can use this actions menu to combine your searches. So for example, I could put New England Journal of Medicine. When I add my query, it sticks it up here in the query box. And then if I wanted to say also add acid reflux, I get options for Boolean operators here. So if I wanted to AND those two terms together, I can do that. And you can also actively edit this search box as well. So if you just wanted to add keyword searches, you can do that too into the query box. Okay, so I'm going to remove this and I'm going to add my two searches that I've built from my search history back into my search history. So notice what I've done here is I built a search, I added this New England, and then I added acid reflux with an AND operator, and it gave me back 110 results. Okay, so now I have a little bit of an activity for you. If you're working along with me, go to, in the advanced search page, go down to that search history and search details and locate that our first search for acid reflux. Locate that original search for acid reflux. Then I want you to click on the right-facing chevron, which I'm highlighting with my mouse right there. Click on that right-facing chevron, and you can view the details of the search. So when you expand that chevron, you can see how PubMed interpreted your search. For our acid reflux example, you can see that PubMed also searched for our term gastroesophageal reflux in addition to our term acid reflux. So what this means is even if we don't know the medical term for acid reflux, PubMed knows and maps our keywords to the official medical subject heading or MESH term when one exists. So PubMed will look for any citations with the MESH term along with our original term, acid reflux. And this explains why we saw the term gastroesophageal reflux bolded in our results page for our original acid reflux search. And that's because gastroesophageal reflux is the official medical subject heading for the term acid reflux. So basically, our keyword search for acid reflux included that gastroesophageal reflux thanks to automatic term mapping. Okay, so now I do actually have a learning activity for you. What I'd like you to do is either on the, you can do it in the advanced search builder or you can pop back over to PubMed and just do it in the basic PubMed search box. I want you to search the term nosebleed, and I want you to tell me what it says in the search details. What's the official medical subject heading for the term nosebleed? Marissa and Emily, they got it. Epistaxis, that's right. Nosebleed maps to the medical subject heading epistaxis. And let me just show you how that works right here. So I did a search for nosebleed, and notice here's epistaxis is already being bolded in my abstract results. If I go to the advanced page and I look at my search history, here's my search for nosebleed. And if I expand the search details, it then tells me, okay, you did a keyword search for nosebleed. PubMed mapped that entry to the official medical subject heading, epistaxis. And then in addition, it also searched for our original keyword terms of nosebleed, and then it also conveniently pluralized it for us too. So when you think about how PubMed works, know that your search terms are examined using PubMed's automatic term mapping feature, and search details shows you how PubMed translated your keyword search. So the bottom line here is that the search detail section of the advanced page can really be a faithful companion when it comes to explaining what PubMed did and why you got the search results you got. It can really explain a lot just looking at the search details. So keep that in your back pocket. Now I'm going to pause a moment to look for questions.
Molly, we just have one that came in from Becca, but I believe the other ones that have come in while you've been going over history and search details have all been answered.
Okay. Well, Becca asks, what is the difference between the search and translations in details? Okay, so the search for nosebleed, this top one tells you what medical subject heading, if any, your term mapped to. And then this phrase right here is basically how it mapped your keyword search. So it really was searching all of these things. The translation tells you how PubMed translated your results. We go into this in a lot more detail in the medical subject headings part of how PubMed works. And I am curious, Rebecca, if you have anything to say.
Yeah, could you scroll down? I think there was one of your earlier searches that you had like caregiver burden Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you'll expand that one.
Yeah.
So the translation section is the exact same thing that's above it. It's just slightly easier to read. It's term by term. That makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Any more questions about the advanced search page, automatic term mapping, search details, operational difference between and or? Okay, so the operational difference between and or, and is going to combine your terms together. Or is going to expand. So and is going to probably make it narrower, or is going to make it bigger. Doctor or physician or MD. Doctor and okay, so if you do all three of those different synonyms for a doctor, you would get search results that had all those keywords. But if you did doctor and physician and MD, then your search would then be limited to citations that had all three of those terms together. I encourage folks that are curious about Boolean operators and or and not. I'm going to recommend simply go to Wikipedia and type in Boolean operators, and there's a lot of great plain language information and visuals that will explain the differences between those. We don't go into detail about how Boolean operators work, since our focus is more on how PubMed works, but I can totally plug a free resource though. Okay, how do you limit time frame, asks Kevin. The way to limit time frame, let me go back and get to some search results here. I'm just going to go into New England Journal of Medicine. You can limit your results by year using the slider menu at the top, or also on the left-hand filter menu, you can use publication date to limit, and you can do a custom range right there. Okay. So the filters on the left side of the PubMed search page will let you limit your time frames in 2 different ways. And Jason asks does all fields include mesh terms? If you do Jason's referring to the advanced page, when you do all fields, yes, it would probably include mesh terms because mesh terms is a field.
It does.
Okay. Keep your questions coming. And also congratulations, you have officially spent almost 90 minutes learning how PubMed works this afternoon. So just take a moment to pat yourself on the back, and hope you've received some good tips today. I'm going to give you another tip, this is more of PubMed trivia. Now we all know from earlier that if you click on the PubMed logo from any page, that it will take you back to that clean slate page. But did you know that the Advanced Search Builder page is the only screen where that logo appears on the right-hand side? On every other page, this logo is on the right-hand side. So anyway, but clicking on this PubMed.gov logo will always take you back to a clean search page. Now, before we wrap up and get to our lingering questions, I wanted to show you a few more things from PubMed that are below the fold of this homepage, and they're really useful. So let's just spend a minute checking them out. So I'm going to scroll down to show you how you can learn, find, download, and explore more PubMed resources. So under Learn, you can find things like an FAQ and user guide, which are very comprehensive and should answer any questions that you might have. So if we go into the user guide, this search box searches citations in PubMed, but if you use a Find on Page feature on your browser and say you wanted to know about truncation, you can do that. You can get to that information under the PubMed FAQ. So that's the FAQ and user guide. We also have find features. We really dug into the advanced search feature in PubMed today, but there's 2 other find features that you might be interested in. Clinical queries includes both COVID-19 studies and clinical studies. So if you're looking for clinical studies on therapy or diagnosis or prognosis, and if you want to have a broad or a focused search, you can use specialized search hedges that were developed by research studies to retrieve just clinical studies on a particular topic. More recently, clinical queries has been around for a fairly long time, but more recently we've incorporated COVID-19. So there is also a COVID-19 data set under clinical queries if you are doing some targeted COVID searching. And so that is here under clinical queries. And and we have something called Single Citation Matcher, and this is a tool that allow you to track down a specific article, basically filling in a form, and then it will give you back what you're looking for. Download, just want to mention, this is where we have information on our eUtilities API, and these eUtility APIs are 9 server-side programs which provide a stable interface to the Entree Query and Database System at the National Center for Biotechnology Information. Basically, these are tools that you could use to have your electronic health record system talk to PubMed or pull up patient consumer health information. Another thing that you can do and download is download PubMed data in XML format using this FTP link. So if you want everything, you can actually download it via FTP. There's also a feature for batch citation matcher if you are a power user of PubMed, that might be a useful tool for you. And finally, we have a links to explore. Like I said several times, we have a medical subject headings session of how PubMed works coming up. The Explore link has a link to the MESH database, and it also has a link to the NLM journals database. And just a note about the journals, this is going to show you journals currently indexed in Medline and journals currently deposited in PubMed Central. And I guess it's worth mentioning too that there's links to both the MESH database and PubMed Central, as well as Bookshelf on the bottom of every PubMed page. Okay, next, last but not least, we have trending articles. This is cool because just like Twitter and other social media, this section highlights articles that have a recent uptick in user activity. So it's showcasing articles that aren't necessarily the newest, but they've had a sudden increase in interest or popularity. And we also have latest literature, new articles from highly accessed journals. So going back to that table of contents, this is another way that you could quickly look at. These are highly accessed journals. So this is just user data, what's the highest access journal. So you can see new articles for a few of those. And way down, and we touched upon this earlier as well, but it deserves mentioning again, the help button. Every PubMed page has a link to the help at the bottom right of this blue menu. And from here, you can write to the NLM help desk, which is right here, and this blue button right to the help desk. If you encounter something that isn't working, the help desk can also help report issues to the PubMed development team. And I think we have a direct link to the NLM Support Center as well that we can share. But just know that, yeah, you can attach a file if you wanted to problem report something. Make sure that you include an email address, as you'll get a confirmation email that you've submitted a report. All of these help desk inquiries are read and responded to by an actual human being, and we really do sincerely appreciate you as a user reporting things you might find that are not working, because that helps us maintain a good database, so and respond to problems when encountered. So please use the help desk. Okay, and before we wrap up, I just want to say one final thing, and that's if you teach PubMed, we have some really good resources available on another page separate from PubMed. It's called the PubMed Trainers Toolkit. I'm just going to open a new window and show you this really fast. And I think that I'm pretty sure the link is also on your handout. If you teach PubMed, I encourage you not to reinvent the wheel. Use our wheel. It's free. We have some slide decks available. It's completely open access to use, reuse, modify. If you want to attribute the slides to us, we love that too. But we do have slide decks available, PowerPoint slides. We also have quick tours that you can share out with your users that show you various quick ways to do things in PubMed. And we also have embeddable SCORM packages that you can download and add to your resource guides. So this is all available for free for reuse from the National Library of Medicine. So encourage you to check those out and see if they can work for you. Okay. Oh, and one final thing. I keep saying the one last thing, but I still keep having them. We also have something called the Medline PubMed Resources Guide. And that is right there. Thank you, Rebecca. So this resources guide includes tons of information on PubMed. For example, how many journals are indexed in PubMed? What new journals have been added to PubMed this year? Things like that. There's lots of statistics, tools if you wanted more information about using APIs. That's all in this Medline PubMed resources guide. So that's another great place to check out if you have a really specific question about PubMed. Okay, so I really hope that you enjoyed this class today. We're pretty much wrapping up. I'd just like to say that Rebecca has shared the link to the evaluation in the chat box. And we'll put that in there one more time because I see there's a lot of chat happening. Or if you miss it, feel free to email us at nto@utah.edu and we'll be happy to share that there too. We do have a few minutes, so I'm happy to take a few more questions. I'm sure Rebecca and Erica would be happy to chat a little bit longer. And just thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you learned a lot. And we invite you to join us for the other parts of how PubMed works going all the way through December. So encourage you to close out your learning year with a feast of PubMed classes, as well as all of the other wonderful network provided webinars that we have coming up. Rebecca, Erica, do we have any more final questions?
We did have two more that came in. One question was about finding different tools in PubMed. For example, finding a tool for measuring mental health. Could you recommend a way to search for those?
Yes, that is a great question, and I'm wondering for the person who asked that question if you might want to explore the article type filter and specifically go into additional filters. There are so many different article type filters. It might be worth looking to see if one of those would fit what you're looking for. Um, another another suggestion would be a simple keyword search with your original inquiry, like mental health or whatnot, and then looking at the subject headings that are used for an article that you're interested in or assessment tool that you're interested in, and then looking at the medical subject headings for that and kind of digging down. One of the things we'll get into in the medical subject headings, how PubMed works, is using subject headings to click to get it to view all the articles indexed by a specific subject heading, and that would be one way that you could, if you knew exactly the type of research that you were looking for, you can click on that subject heading and look at all the articles indexed in that subject heading.
And then Molly, we did have one more about specifying where your search is focused. Can you specify to search just PMC, just bookshelf, etc.?
Within PubMed, it's searching PubMed citations. We have down at the link down at the bottom of every PubMed page, we have a link to PMC and we have a link to bookshelf. Now, Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that everything that's in PMC is indexed in PubMed. So if you search PubMed, then you will receive results from PMC. And I know for a fact that things in bookshelf are indexed in PubMed as well. So if you do a keyword search, you will retrieve results from these two resources. I'm not sure if you can filter to those two specifically. Like if you could say, I just want bookshelf results. I don't know if, I don't think that's a feature of PubMed. Yes, Rebecca's confirming PubMed pulls in PMC and bookshelf. Yes.
And then Molly, there was just still the question that we kind of put on hold for later if there were time or if you want to suggest another resource for how to create an alert for the publications that are tied to the funding and support from their agency.
This is a great library question. I just love it. As we know in library science, there's not always an easy fix unless you have lots of money. Because another suggestion I would have is I do know that there's subscription-based tools that can do this type of work. I don't know names off the top of my head, but I know that there's proprietary resources that can do that grant monitoring. You can set that up, but unfortunately you probably will need to know the grant numbers, and you would have to stay on top of that in order to stay up to date using PubMed. And the good news is, so you can put in your grant numbers. And let's see, let me see, pretend like I know a grant number. I don't. One thing that the query box will do in advanced search is it will start auto-suggesting if you know kind of what you're looking for. So you could very quickly, if you had the group of grant numbers, you could build those here. And then you would create an alert with my NCBI and check that. From personal experience, not monitoring grants per se, but like monitoring the research output of 80 School of Medicine faculty members, I can say that it is an arduous process to basically develop a very, very long search string with everyone's official names and affiliations. But then once it was set up and I would receive email alerts once a month, it got a little easier. But that's kind of beyond the scope of how PubMed works. But hopefully this gave you some food for thought.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.